No laughing at the struggle. And that like greased up slot under the circle thing there. But this is loose. Should pull out. This is dumb. I hope it works. Whoever invented front wheel drive cars needs a good kick. I hate working on front wheel drive cars. Yeah, ouch. Turning sideways a little. Ah, crap. That gear just broke. This just seems wrong to do. I'm not sure what's next. There might be oh. Finding parts on the ground is next. I'm not sure I recommend doing this at home. I'm feeling a little bit of anger right now. There were bell housing bolts when I started this project, and I don't remember what I did with them. Yeah, I might phone a friend for this. So lessons learned from the manual transmission rebuild in my front wheel drive 09 Vibe with the 1.8 liter and the 5-speed Toyota C59 transmission. Number one, if your gears are grinding and you changed your fluid recently, before you take the whole thing out and apart, check your fluid. Maybe you put the wrong thing in. This Valvoline synthetic seemed to be recommended by a bunch of people, but if you look, let's see, right here, it says it's recommended for all non-synchronized manual transmissions. So the reason for that is this stuff apparently can chew up brass synchronizers. So the fluid I put in after all the rebuild was done was this Valvoline synchromesh manual trans fluid. So it doesn't even say what viscosity it is. It doesn't say GL4, it doesn't say GL5. All it says is synchromesh. Whatever it is, it works nice and smooth now. Other thing, the kit had two synchros that just flat out weren't right for the transmission. This is just too big a diameter. This was missing some teeth to help it engage, so besides that, the whole kit was missing the 5th gear synchro, and I knew that. I didn't want to wait for that to come in because everything's kind of stuck in shipping ports right now. So I didn't know how long it would take. So I said, give me what you got. One thing I learned is don't buy a kit. Take your transmission apart. Find out what's wrong inside, if anything. If the synchros don't look like visibly scarred, you can use some valve grinding compound and you can lap your synchros together and it'll scuff it up a little bit, clean the surfaces, and then you clean all that stuff off. Another thing I learned is this gasket maker. This one's Permatex gear oil. I couldn't find the stuff that Toyota recommended in their manual. A 3-ounce tube. You'll probably use a quarter of it doing a transmission, so you don't need to buy 2. Anyway, back to not buying a kit. You don't need a kit. You just take the transmission apart, find what's broken, if anything. If you have bad parts on there, if it's a bearing or a seal, you can probably just buy onesie twosie, get the part you need, and that'll save you a bunch of money. The kit I bought was $500-ish, and I ended up not using most of it. I've got a rule of thumb: if something's not broken, don't fix it, which I might have goofed on here, but if you have a seal that's not leaking, there's probably no point in replacing it. If you have an axle that's not broken, you probably don't need to replace that. If you have bearings that aren't making noise and gears that aren't making noise, you probably don't need to replace them. So yeah, just buy the parts that are broken, and that's it. What else? Oh, if you've got hard parts that are broken, you probably won't be able to buy, I mean, I was able to buy a 5th gear set, but if I needed like an input shaft, it's possibly something I could get from Toyota or from a GM dealership, but probably the cheapest way to go if you've got a couple of broken pieces in your transmission is just go find one at a junkyard and buy the whole thing, swallow that cost. For a C59, it's probably $500 to $900 depending on condition and mileage, and they're pretty scarce in the US. But I know there were a couple. I could have driven 100-ish miles and got one from a junkyard north of here. I decided not to and just thought maybe I'll fix my own. Turns out if I hadn't broken 5th gear by using the wrong puller, and if I think that's the only part I really broke. All the bearings and seals probably didn't need to be replaced except for the one axle seal. Other thing I learned, axle seals, if you rip one installing it and it leaks again, just pull the axle and get a new seal, swap it again. It's apparently possible to drain the entire thing of fluid out of the axle seal because of the way the ring gear flings oil up into these funnel systems that push oil to all the bearings, and there's even like a feed that goes through the center of one of the shafts. I forget if it's input or output, but that's got little holes all through it to fill all those roller bearings with oil as you drive. A transmission jack doesn't fit under the engine carriage. I don't know what to call that on a front-wheel drive car. Cradle? Engine cradle? Anyway, my regular transmission jacks, like this thing is just physically too big to get underneath it, so is that one. But you can put the car on the ground and use a regular floor jack and lift the transmission. Lifting it over your head isn't easy, maybe with a friend, but it's probably still easier to use the floor jack. I guess that's all the tips I got. We've got a Saturn to probably do this on, and that thing, like, I forgot if it got stuck in 2nd gear or 1st gear. Something kind of locked up, and we know there's mechanical problems inside, but who knows, maybe it's just a bearing and that let the shafts move out of alignment. So we'll pop that open and probably look at it before even going to get a junkyard trans. Alright, good enough for this video. Hope you guys learned something. I learned a lot. I'm a little bit more confident working on front wheel drive stuff now, but God, I hate it. It's not fun.